now the workflow is a little bit more detailed. There will be some repetitions, yeah, so don't worry, it will come again. Yes, so this is how we split the workflow. First, the preparation of library and to start the experiment, and then sequencing, and then these two steps are happening on base-based. Analyze and share. Of course, if it's base-based on-site, it's only analyze. Share to share with collaborators.
Can you give me some time for translation? Okay.
Слушайте, а может быть, ребята, если что-то не понимаю, может просто сказать?
Вот это был бы идеальный вариант. Да, пожалуйста, говорите, хорошо? Да, не после презентации.
Вы мне нужны, да, в понимающем виде. Пусаю.
If you don't understand, make this.
Да,
then
да.
И дальше мы переведем и объясним.
Да.
То есть окей.
Да, это шай, ну.
Okay. So I will start with the prep step. So basically, you enter the run parameters that how you want to organize your experiment, and you prepare the libraries. So in base space, you have a special tab. So tab is something like this. Yeah, this is a tab. It's the same as on your mobile phone. You have you have these tabs. Yeah, so these are all tabs. Application. I have a new one. This is for Russian sim, and this is the 5. I don't have 6. Yeah. We always get from the company always the last model, not the latest.
It took a coin out of your. The Russian phone took a coin out of your pocket.
So in this, if you click on this spread tab, you can organize samples, libraries, pools. Basically, this is what you would do on Experiment Manager. Same idea, same function. And you use it if you use base-based cloud. Also, you use it for a base-based on-site, but you need to define it. Yeah, so it's the same principle with base-based on-site. And it looks like this. Yeah, so this is the screenshot. So here is the prep tab here. And then you have different sections in prep. So you have biological samples, libraries, pools, and runs. So it's a kind of hierarchy, how to organize it. So here you have your sample plate, and here you have the different samples in the plate, yeah. And then each sample gets an index. So this is how you can organize it. Then you can choose the kit that you were using for the library preparation. So there is a wizard that is guiding you through import. Yeah, so it's explaining what you have to do. And we also have a separate manual for this space. So you should also print this manual and have a look at it. So you can define is it single read, paired and read, and so on. Yeah. So what kind of index you are using. Then you do the pooling, so you can choose which libraries you want to pull together. And then you set up your run. So, for example, you define the length of the run. So here you choose paired and it's pretty obvious. Yeah. So then this is your library.
Interesting. Sorry, can I ask a question?
Yes,
Can you go back
sure.
to the cycle length selection tool? You told before that well, as we all know, that we have fixed kits with fixed amount of cycles, but before there was a window where you could enter the library preparation method, right? I remember. So and here the software asks you again about the length of the read.
Because you can modify it, yeah. So
as you said before.
it's not, you can make it shorter if you want, yeah. So
But
if
obviously
the
not longer.
read allows you 300 cycles, you don't have to. So this is the maximum what you can do, 2 times 151.
Yes.
But so always one more, you know this. But if you, for some reason, decide to do only 80.
So that's where you can do it in
Yes.
in base space. Okay.
And then, of course, we have all these different kits for library preparation. This is not new, yeah. So, of course, the libraries are exactly the same as for other systems. Which kits to use? We have this sample prep kit selector tool on the web page. So just to help you, to guide you through. So first it's DNA, RNA, chip-seq, and then you know, if you choose DNA, then whole genome or enrichment. So it's guiding you through some questions, and it will help you to find the right kit. Then so after defining your samples, you define the libraries. Of course, you can also start with libraries. Yeah, so you can skip the first step. Yes, you can also import this. So you can also do the same in Experiment Manager. And then basically to set up the run, this is the same what you do on the MySeq. So first you denature and dilute the library. So denature with sodium hydroxide and dilute it to the right concentration. Remember that the cluster density is much lower. Yeah, it was between 170K and 230K for NextSeq. And then you prepare the reagent cartridge. It means you need to defrost it. It takes more time than for MySeq. So in the manual it says between 60 and 90 minutes in a water bath at room temperature. I think 60 is probably enough, but you should, you also have to shake it, and you should control. There are some reservoirs that are a little bit bigger. They are for the wash solution, and you should check if they are really defrosted, so you can see if there is still ice. So never use a frozen cartridge. Then, when you are sure that it's defrosted and you have shaped it, afterwards, of course, you can introduce the sodium hypochlorite solution. Of course, not before, otherwise, yes, it will spill it. And then you can prepare the flow cell. The flow cell should be kept for 30 minutes at room temperature before you open it. And then you load the libraries and you start the run. About the libraries, so this is the short protocol how to denature and dilute the libraries. So first of all, for the dilution you should use 200 millimolar tris HDL pH 7. Did you okay, perfect. So this is what you have to prepare. Then so if it's 5x, we recommend a concentration of 1.8 picomolar. And you can also use this to start for your library, but as you know, it really depends a little bit on your library. It also depends how you quantify the library. So this is not a fixed value. It can be more or it can be less. Then later, after validating the experiment, so first experiment will be 100% 5. But next experiment, you should always spike in at least 1%. 5, it's the same as for MySeq. And you need 1.3 milliliters of the library solution. And yesterday, we had originally the NextSeq with NCS version 1.2, but we upgraded it to 1.3. Yeah? So now you have the latest software.
Сделали апдейт обеспечения программного для прибора на самую последнюю версию вчера. 1.3 версия, последняя.
So now you know what is written here in the start. This is now already the case. Yeah. Okay, so here again, 60 to 90 minutes in water bath. Be careful, don't put water here on the surface. If there is water, dry it. Shake it at minimum 5 times. And also put it on the table to remove the bubbles. It's the same as for MySeq. Here is again what is exactly in each position. I mean, what is for you important is number 10 is for the library. Then number 18 is for the dual index primer. You have to edit. Yeah, it's in this additional box in the kit. And number 28 is for the wash solution containing sodium hypochlorite. So these two, 18 and 28, you have to add something. And 10 is the library. All the rest is only defrosting. Yeah? This is exactly what you would do with MySeq. It's exactly the same. And this is the concentration for the wash solution between 0.03 and 0.06%. Really be careful not to use the wrong concentration. Yeah? If it's very highly concentrated, it can damage.
Уж, наверное, присутствие заказать отдельный реагент, а не пользоваться средством для очистки проточника, потому что там непонятная концентрация. Да?
Also, it says in the manual, please always dilute fresh, just before using it, this sodium hypochlorite, because in a few hours it is deactivated. Yeah, and the same is so for adding the primers, position 18, it is BP13. Yeah, so this is the name of the primers, dual indexing primers, and the the flow cell, you take it out of the fridge, you put it for a minimum of 30 minutes at room temperature on the bench. Then you want to...
Yes, thanks. Not yet. I have to go out.
Ah, okay. Then afterwards you remove the foil. You can clean the glass surface with some tissue and only some drops of alcohol. So don't use a lot, only a little bit.
Is it possible to use tissue with alcohol?
Yes. You mean if it's already yeah. But before you put it in the machine, it should be dry. Then also you should check the flow cells. Apparently, sometimes it happens that there is something wrong. So this is the underside of the flow cell. So you have here these 4 metal springs. You should make sure that they are flat and that this metal frame is really sitting well. Also, you should check this. So these are the 4 manifolds, so that are protecting the inlet and outlet for the library. So these gaskets. The ports should be not blocked, so nothing inside. I can give you this presentation. It's also in the manual. So, you load the sample, and then you start the run. Yes, if you have problems with eyesight.
I think it's trouble for the touch screen, right?
Yes. So there are different ways to start a run, so you can also start it directly there without this. And then once you started it, similar to NextSeq, it will check some parameters and it will tick them off if they are okay. Then also similar to NextSeq, the flow cell and the reagent cartridge and the buffer cartridge, they all have an ID. It will be scanned automatically. So these are the different ways how to start the experiment. So it can be the prep tab in BaseSpace, or it can be stand-alone mode if you don't use BaseSpace. So for today, since BaseSpace on-site is not yet working, you can choose between stand-alone and BaseSpace cloud. So this is for standalone. Of course, you always need your library. This is what we had before. And then you do the same, you denature, dilute your library. This is all the same. So the wash, the index, the reagent cartridge, gaskets, ports, and then you start it directly here. So this is if you do standalone. Because this information, paired and relength, if you use BaseSpace, it's already done with the pregnant. So this is the other way. And then you choose an output folder, so this is where the data are saved. If you use standalone, you should use some network drive, yeah, so it should be a computer that is connected, but it should not be, we do not recommend to use the computer of the NextSeq. It's only for emergency, yeah, so because if, for example, we discussed it before, if there is misconnection in the intranet or internet, then it would be saved directly on the disk, but you should not choose the disk per default. So you should try to use a different location outside of your local computer. Okay, so here you choose the setup. And it's pretty
So when it checks, I'm sorry, can you go back one slide? So when it checks for the instrument disk space and network disk space, so it's actually checking if the network disk also has enough memory
it's
to
checking,
okay.
yes. But I would also, I mean, you see it, I mean, yeah, I would also check it.
Manually before you do it.
This is the same what we had before. Okay. When the run is finished, so everything is, the rest is automatic. So after the run, it does automatically the post-run wash. And you leave the flow cell and the reagent cartridge and the buffer cartridge inside.
No matter when the next run will be, so even if it's in 6 months, you still with everything.
Well,
You have to watch it from time to time. So
yes, you're right. So yes, if you store it for 6 months, definitely you should do some wash, yeah, in between. Yeah. So it's a fluidic system, like with all fluidic systems. Yeah, it's not good to leave them for several months.
But then should we replace the flow cell for this wash flow cell with
Yes,
one?
then you should replace it. And I will show this in detail.
Okay.
So this post-run wash, it takes 1 hour, but it's happening immediately after the run. Then when it's finished, when you remove the cartridge before starting the next experiment, you can remove this formamide. What you have to do is you have to remove this rubber protection here, and then you can detach this formamide position from the system.
I'm afraid in Russia people will be less careful when it comes to disposing of formamide.
Yes, this is up to you.
Yeah.
And here, so this is our rule. If you don't use instrument in 2 weeks, 14 days, then you should do a manual wash before starting the next experiment. It takes 1 hour, and if you do it, you use this wash tab. And then it will ask you to load a flow cell. It's already inside normally, so. And then you have to add buffer and so wash cartridge, and you use 0.05% twin 20. So this is the wash tray, and you only fill the middle position. So the others can be empty, and then you have an empty. So this looks like a reagent cartridge, but it's empty for washing. And there you don't have to add anything, so it's dry. But it will be filled with reagents after the wash. So you can forget this comment. Yeah, this was only for the old software. Yes, I said this already. So the storage space on the disk is only good for maximum one run. So never leave old data on the disk. And ideally, as network location, always choose a different computer. For shutting down, you can use the manage instrument tab.
So why to use a different computer every time?
Just to avoid that, you fill your hard disk on your NextSeq computer. Because it should
you mean different than NextSeq. I thought you mean different every time you use a different.
No.
Okay.
Not your NextSeq.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you want to shut down, you can use this Manage Instrument tab. But our general recommendation is to leave it on.
For what time? I also didn't get it. Forever?
Well, officially we say you should leave it on. To be quite honest, if it's like for several weeks, I will switch it off. This is something I will ask my colleagues, what if they have some...
Ну, просто...
В рамках 2 недель можно оставить включенным.
С MySeq у нас была ситуация такая. В январе у нас было 2 запуска, следующий запуск был летом, а сейчас у нас 4 подряд за 2 недели.
Он знает,
Ну, вот,
что делать с более длинным запуском. Если в рамках 2 недель, оставляйте включенным. Если больше, то можно выключить.
What do you do with the MySeq?
They said that they have their working schedule is quite,
в январе, потом
the
летом.
opposite. It was first one run in January, then one in summer, but now all of a sudden they have a series of run one after another. So the same can be with the NextSeq, so that's why they ask.
Okay.
Because just standing on for several months would keep tempting.
Yes, if it's several months, I would switch. But I mean, in general, for the machine, it's better if it's used more often. If you don't have anything, and if it's really spending at least 2, I would say once per month a wash.
No.
Yeah, best practice. So it can take some seconds. Don't be impatient. Yeah, leave it some seconds for identifying the RFID tag.
Spend reagents.
Yeah, empty the base. Yeah. Make sure that this is a fresh dilution of sodium hypochlorite. Keep the wash cartridge clean and dry. Yeah. Leave the used flow cell in the machine. This is exactly the same as for MySeq. Save the data not on the NextSeq computer, but choose a different computer on the network or base space. And officially we say you should leave it on. Analyze data. So this is these are like options that you have. So the offline standalone, if you use a standalone mode, then you need this BCL to fast-Q converter and a Linux computer. For all the rest, if you use base space, you can use these different applications: whole genome sequencing, enrichment, tumor normal comparison, RNA-seq, RNA express, amplicon, and metagenomics. So this is all in base space, and that's really easy to use. Yeah, so you really don't need to be a bioinformatician to use this. It's really easy. It's only click.
Они проще, чем Office.
Да попробуй, 20-то не буду называть.
I have a question. Could you go back to the previous slide with the applications? So if I do the BCL to FASTQ convert on some standalone computer, can I then upload this data to base space and use the software? No. No.
It has to be
a project in base space, basically.
Exactly. It has to be defined before starting.
I see. So if I have my FASTQ files, I cannot create a new project in base space.
I downloaded my files to base space. Oh, uploaded my files to
your FASTQ files.
Yes.
Really?
And you have a project there.
You uploaded it afterwards.
Yes, after.
То есть вы сделали...
Не при запуске, а после. Вот я хотел попробовать программы на моих данных. Закачал туда
и у тебя появился проект твой собственный, и ты можешь...
Да.
Well, he says...
Ну, мы можем еще посмотреть позже.
This is then new. So far this was not possible. But maybe they change this, yeah, so...
Actually, it sounds logical that they do have this, because it's just people have more options.
Of course, it's good, yeah, but this is new. This is new, yeah. Also, another thing that is new that I know is that you can delete data. Before you could not delete it. So that's also new. Okay. And then, of course, you can share data with collaborators, yeah. So you just choose a run or a project, and then so here you just leave the email of the collaborator, and then you can invite him to have access to this data. Okay. So that was the workflow.
Ну, мы вроде спрашивали по ходу.
Если что, то в общем. Okay. So far seems good. I have an understanding.
Maybe quickly this BCL to FASTQ. I think there it's not very.
The problem is they have no Linux machine here, so
yes,
maybe not be
not usual. Okay, we can also skip it. Yeah, so it's just yeah. So basically, you use it only for NextSeq. HiSeq X, you don't have it, yeah. So this is
there's no one
in Russia.
In Russia, you are working on the HiSeq X, so
it's our biggest system for population-wide whole genome sequencing. One system in US price it costs 10 million, so it's expensive. But
Знаешь, я вот не удивлюсь, если через полгода начальство торкнет про то, что мы хотим все эти надо существовать.
So if in future you need BCL to FASTQ, you can just download it from internet website, from the website.
It will be a Linux script, so you need a Linux machine for this, and I suppose you need a strong Linux machine because it's about converting hundreds of gigabytes of text data, which sounds to me like a decent amount of work.
Yes. Okay, so
Вот так работает, черный экран, белые буковки. Это самая страшная страшилка для всех, черный экран, белые буковки. Много белых букв, и они бегают так вот снизу вверх. Как матрица. Да, это зеленые. Да, это белые. Можно настроить, чтобы были зеленые.
Troubleshooting.
Troubleshooting is always good. Shooting the troubles.
Yeah, now we have some online troubleshooting. So on the web page, there is now a tool that can give you some help.
Не, вот только позвоним на всякий случай.
Their main troubleshooting will be calling us.
Но все равно, что надо посмотреть, все равно стоит.
Yeah. So yeah, one error that sometimes happens is if the barcode was entered not correctly. So you must make sure if you use the prep tab in BaseDate, there you have to give in the reagent barcode, and this must match the reagent cartridge. Yeah? So it will compare it. And if you're not sure, leave it blank. Don't fill in something else, otherwise it will be broken. Yeah, if you lose connection, it looks like this. So this is a warning showing you that there is no connection.
It's a warning on the screen of the NextSeq.
Yes. And the reason can be that the time setting. So basically there is no synchronization between the time on your computer and the time on the server. So you must make sure that you should check this option automatically adjust for daylight savings time.
You mean the
you should uncheck it.
Computer?
Yeah. Sorry?
You mean the NextSeq computer?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so it should be checked. Okay.
Yes. It should be checked. And the other reason, of course, that the speed is slow or maybe no connection. It does the pre-run checks, and this is the same as for MySQL, exactly the same. So you have OK, you have here it is working, this is warning, still it is continuing, and only if it's like this error, then it will stop. Yeah. So you need to do something before you can continue. The doors must be closed. Consumables must be loaded. Make sure that it's really, you see, when you put in the cartridge, it will make the tick. If it's not, if you don't see the tick, maybe you have to do it again. Software. Oops. Disk space, yeah, this can be a problem. Yeah, so make sure that there is enough space and the network connection. There are a couple of sensors in the system. So the flow cell is heated. If there is a problem, call Interlabservis and they will call tech support. The same with the fans for the cooling and with temperature sensors. Imaging system. Yeah. You have to call for help if this is failing. Call tech support.
Obviously, you shouldn't have to try to fix it.
Only if the flow cell registration fails, then before calling somebody, you should check that the flow cell is in the correct position and just try to take it out and put it back.
Но если что, мы тоже вам позвоним.
На всякий случай. Скажем, точно правильно лежит.
here is the fluidics. If it's something wrong, you have to call us. Only, of course, if you forget to empty the spent reagents, the waste, then empty it and don't call us. Okay. Manage instrument, yeah, so this is the second tab. Once you click on it, you see these different sub-tabs. So, well, you can load the flow cell. Yeah, you can do all these operations. We will do it live on the machine.
Это только для поддержки физической. Вам, в принципе, сюда лезть не нужно. В нормальном режиме работы прибора.
Did you ever use?
Если что, мы звоним.
Did you ever use the shared desktops option with tech support?
TeamViewer, например. В TeamViewer работали?
Учитывая, ну, скажем так, где вопрос, что значит работать?
На компьютере.
На каком?
Какая разница?
Нет, у нас есть один компьютер, на котором мы в такой лаборатории, то есть здесь мы не ставили.
Он ничем не отличается от компьютера к компьютеру, не одинаковый совершенно.
Мы поставить можем в случае, как бы, если нужно. Просто они не было необходимости, и на одном из компьютеров мы поработали, но не в этой лаборатории.
Yes, so actually we have similar.
Там есть, и он установлен.
На NextSeq есть. По-моему, есть.
So we have a different software, we call it GoToAssist. It is in principle the same as TeamViewer, but we don't use TeamViewer.
Okay.
So I will show you how to. It's on the Illumina page, and basically, if you have a problem, you can call them. You can ask them, please help us, and make a online session. They will then give you a code. The code is valid only for some minutes, so you have to use it immediately. Then you go to this web page. You type in the code. So here is space for the code. This is, I think, not even needed to fill out, but this you need to fill out. And then you press continue. If you use it the first time, you have to download something. And then the guy or the girl in England can see your desktop, and they can help you. And afterwards, you finish the session, and then they have no access. So don't worry, they cannot spy on you.
Нет, ну это понятно. Если мы, в принципе, же на Иллюмине регистрировались, как бы, может, если что, нам лучше от всех одну Иллюмину, так сказать? Или лучше...
Вероятно, да.
У вас должен быть один аккаунт на Иллюмине.
Так в том-то и дело, что мы завели один, а потом оказалось, что в режиме пробы попробовали второй, третий, потом узнали, что не нужен был второй, третий, что надо...
Вот, на одном работает все.
Да.
They had multiple accounts because they tried out to register many times. I told them they should use one account.
Сначала неизвестно было, что шеф его завел, как бы никого не
знал. For this, shared desktop, you don't even need your account, yeah?
Он даже не нужен быть.
For this, yes. For this you don't need. For basement, yes, then you need. Okay, so these are some tests you can do without assistance from somebody else. And it's this motion test, the fluid test, and the thermal test. Yeah. So these tests, these tests and these tests. You can do it. So I will show you where to find it. And normally you do this only if tech support asks you to do it. Normally you don't have to do it routinely.
No, because for the last 2 fluidics tests you need to swap the tubing, right?
Yes.
That's why
Yeah.
they cannot do it. Okay.
The files, this is again very similar to MySeq. So some files are useful for troubleshooting, especially for tech support, maybe also for people at ILS. So you find them in the run folder, and you know, interop and run parameters, run info is needed for the SAV, sequence analysis viewer. Sometimes they also want to see the log files. So if it's a problem with the run itself, with maybe hardware, then these log files are interesting. If something went wrong during data analysis, it's the RTA logs that are interesting.
It's for getting the link to the base space file.
Yes. So if you use base space, then of course it's easier to see this data. Yeah, run info, it's exactly the same like with MySeq. Yeah? So these 2 files are important, and maybe you have to transfer them to tech support, and also the interop. RTA configuration, this can be interesting for data analysis. Interop is necessary if you want to use sequencing analysis viewer. So there are different log files. Actually, you don't. This is for tech support, yeah. So you don't really. Yeah, we have online troubleshooting tool. Now it's already ready for MySeq. For NextSeq, it's coming.